Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. You're still watching Politics Tonight, digging beyond the headlines. And so, because the legislature is the most important institution essential to the functioning of a representative democracy, so tonight we will be having a post-mortem on the National Assembly presiding officer's election. And joining me for that discussion is the former spokesman of the House of Representatives, Eseme Eyibo. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, Honorable.
Thank you very much for this very good evening and giving me the opportunity to participate, in this conversation.
All right, so let's get to business. A new set of leaders has emerged for the National Assembly. How will you describe the outcome, and were you in any way surprised about the outcome?
Well, one thing I want to say first and foremost is that we have always had issues with the leadership recruitment culture in this country across board. So many issues, the election of the officers of the presiding officers of the National Assembly successfully threw up a lot of innovations, which I'm going to put on the table here. But first and foremost, I have to thank God. I have to thank God. I have to thank the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I have to thank Shettima, the Vice President. I have to thank the senators, the members of the House of Reps. I have to also thank sincerely Senator Yari and his team, because that election has thrown up the beauty in the transparency, the beauty in credibility, in a free and fair process that it has thrown up. And the outcome of it has also been able to show to this country that there is now strength in diversity. The people of the minorities of this country, the South, the people of the South and other minorities, they have faith in this country, they have faith as stakeholders. That process has been able to make it clear. In fact, it has removed what used to be called a banana peel. So there is no banana plantation now in the National Assembly, so that you would not talk of banana peel, because that election was very transparent. And the outcome, what later happened, in fact, immediately after that election, a new innovation arose. There has always been a fallout of victor and vanquish. But the president of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, was able to trigger, a victor, a no victor, no vanquish situation by going into the executive discussion with the senators. By what he did, he has provided emotional insurance for everybody. And now everybody, including Yari, appreciated the process and also committed themselves to working together with this leadership. So that is a very critical innovation in our electoral process. It is indeed one of the best moments that National Assembly have ever had. And for the Godswill Akpabio that I know, with that emotional insurance he has given to cover all the members, for them to believe that, and indeed they need to believe that nobody will be left alone, he has successfully been able to enthrone the issue of the integrity of the institution. I can tell you that.
All right. You just pointed out that the election was a transparent one, but it is believed that the election took an ethnic turn. Now, don't you think Akpabio will be presiding over a divided Senate?
Well, can you come up with that question again?
All right. It is believed that the election took an ethnic turn. I'm asking, don't you think Akpabio will be presiding over a divided Senate?
No. I have already said about emotional insurance here. The moment, if Akpabio did not institute a no victor, no vanquish approach, because immediately after that election, Yari went and embraced him. That is very democratical. That shows the level of maturity. And the Senate president now went ahead to now call executive session. They discussed, they had heart to heart. They were able to see that they are not representing political parties or any bigotry, that they are representing Nigeria, and that they are all committed to making Nigeria the best. And of course, from the attitude and contributions of the senators in that executive meeting, from what we had, it has shown clearly that the quality of senators recruited now are not only super senators, but there are senators who have very genuine intention and legitimate democratic credentials to be able to take this country to the next level. So there will be no rancor in the Senate. It's going to be a free Senate. In fact, that executive session remove everything like banana peels. I have told you there is no more banana in the National Assembly. Now, with the removal of the banana, where would the peel come from? So there will be nothing like that. And two, beyond the emotional insurance, the executive, that's why I said I have to thank God, I thank President Tinubu, I thank Shetima, and the rest of the people. I want to say that with the level of symbiotic relationship that I've created now, Akpabio is a relationship manager, no doubt about that. If you like or you hate him, he's a relationship manager. And because he has expertise in managing relationships, and he is very generous when it comes to the issue of development. Akpabio's weakness is he prefers the loss of his own limbs, than underdevelopment. So he is a catalyst of development. And because of this principle, because of this disposition, we are going to have a very strong institution. I've said something about the integrity of the institution. He has laid a proper foundation for it. So when this is in place as it were, we are going to have a flourishing democracy where prosperity and growth will now form the fulcrum. And mind you, the president already set up some policy issues, and those policies have already triggered welcome and positive attitude from the Nigerian people. So what we need now is a legislative agenda. We need a legal framework. This will originate from the National Assembly. And with the harmony there now, with the emotional insurance there now, the trajectory of conflict in the National Assembly or executive legislative rascalism it has been brought to an end. So you are going to have a robust, constructive, and symbiotic relationship between these two critical arms of government.
All right, so we'll get back to that, but let's talk about the impact of the support Akpabio got from different quarters. But to be precise, how do you quantify the support of the president in ensuring that Senator Akpabio won the election?
Well, the support Akpabio had was very infectious and generous. It wasn't on the sentiment of anything. The president's support and the vice president's support for Akpabio's candidature was another way of giving meaning, adding verve to the issue of diversity. Of course, in our lifetime, nobody ever thought a minority would be able to emerge in any guise to become a vice president or to become a Senate president. But Akpabio's emergence is already a foretold prophecy. What kind of prophecy was foretold? Because for him to emerge, it has shown the credibility, the consciousness of an average Nigerian. It has given confidence and legitimacy to government that the current national leadership of Nigeria believes in the strength of our diversities. So whoever you are, wherever you are from, you now know that Nigeria is practicing political inclusiveness. You are now aware that there's a time in this country that the persons from Niger Delta, from the South Side, under a very clear and legitimate circumstance, has been able to become the number 3 citizen. So any other child in any other minority background can also emerge. So what the presidency did by supporting and promoting the Godswill Akpabio's Senate presidential candidature was actually trying to express their belief in the strength in our diversities.
So let's quickly go back to a few days before that election took place. As a matter of fact, 24 hours before that election took place, the Senate president was riding on the wave of popularity earlier in the race. And in fact, Senator Ndume once claimed he had 75 votes in the bag. Now, what made the race to be suddenly very tight?
I didn't hear that last part.
Did you get my question?
What part? Yes. I've not still heard you.
Oh, all right. The Senate president was riding on the wave of popularity earlier in the race. And I also said, in fact, Senator Ndume once claimed he had 75 votes in the bag. For you, what made the race to be suddenly very tight?
Well, what made the race to be very tight was because it was democratic, because it was transparent, because, I mean, it was credible, and it was free and fair. You know, at the point, some of us who were at the back room were even thinking that the Senate president would even win that election with 80 senators, 80 votes, you know. But because of the dynamics of politics that you and I know too well, and of course you cannot just throw away the strength of Senator Yari, as it were, and his team. He had a very strong man around him, and he did a very deep campaign, and he was trying to drive a vehicle, you know, from a direction that the direction was able to attract a couple of interests on his own part, but it would have been difficult for him to defeat Akpabio because Akpabio brought in innovations. Akpabio emphasized on diversities. Akpabio was able to dethrone the issue of bigotries, religious or ethnicity. Akpabio was able to dethrone it. Akpabio went a step further to be able to create the prospects for institutional integrity. The prescription of Akpabio's campaign, of course, had in its foundation the unity and the prosperity of this country. And he never missed the point that there has to be inclusiveness. So most of the issues, the campaign issues Akpabio was driving around it were like tornadoes. So it was quite difficult for anybody to dismantle that. And take note, his campaign and the person of the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, is like the issue of the raven and the eagle. You know, when the eagle is on flight, you always have a raven on its peak. You know, what the eagle does is that it doesn't in any way attack the raven. It will take the raven into a high altitude where the raven will lose oxygen and come down. So strategically, I think that was the method Akpabio deployed with his relationship management. So when he he realized that the race was becoming very tough. He now went to a higher altitude. So the oxygen became insufficient for those who cannot stand it. But this is a man who has experience, who has capacity, who has pedigree, who has a network. So he had sufficient oxygen to go without the enemies being able to chase him out. So he had a lot of barricade that was able to. Akpabio, frankly speaking, is Akpabio and Jibrin. Those two pairs became fantastic balanced diet for that election. They balanced the diet, and it's good for the nation.
All right. So, Honorable Seme, you may be aware of this. There's a document in the public domain indicating how the senators voted. Don't you think it's in bad taste to release this kind of information?
Well, the document you are talking about, I have also seen a document how the senators voted and all of that. That is the beginning of the unity of this country, because the pattern of the voting broke the prejudices of bigotry. You see somebody from the South voting for Yari. You see somebody from the far north voting for Akpabio. So the prejudices of the bigotries in this country was broken by that election, you know? And so it wasn't even the issue of money. You also heard a rumor how some other gentlemen were bringing a lot of tons of money and all of that. So it meant that gradually the issue, the influence of money in our politics is now taking a downturn. And now we are now beginning to come about with credibility, institutional integrity, capacity and experience of individuals and all of that. So it didn't matter to me. Rather, it promoted the concept of what we stood for. The moment we started having the migration of the voting pattern was unpredictable, you know. But one thing was very clear, that the prophecy is foretold.
All right, TV station. Now let's go on a break. Tonight we're discussing National Assembly presiding officer's election post-mortem. And I have a former spokesman of the House of Representatives, Eseme Ayibo. We'll take a commercial break and I'll be right back. Please stay with us.